Utsuge. Kanmoku Shonyorai Jochi Shogun Pudokushu Gojokushu Joryoриku Dosho Nyorai Johoshin. Kambutsuge, we now bathe all the Tathagatas, whose pure wisdom is adorned with innumerable virtues. They cause sentient beings of the 5 periods of decay to be separated from their sufferings and all together attain the pure Dharma body of the Tathagatas. Gasho.
Oh, good morning, and thank you so much for your patience. We really appreciate it. And welcome to those present in the Hondo. Welcome to everyone who's participating via Zoom from their house. My name is Joyce Teague, your chairperson for our 2022 HANAMATSURI service. As you know, this is the day that Jodo Shinshu followers celebrate the birth of Gautama Buddha. He's the historical Buddha, who is, as of today, just a mere 2,600 years or so old. Still a kid to most of us with this much gray hair. So it's truly a pleasure to be able to say happy Buddha's birthday today from this podium for the first time in over 2 years. And you know for the reasons for this very well. Still to acknowledge that in the same 2 years, we've lost far too many temple friends and relatives to illness, accidents, natural causes like old age. And among those were some we were not able to meet with even one last time because of the necessity of COVID sequestering for our own health and well-being. So that we are grateful. We are grateful for our birthday celebration and our relatively peaceful lives. We are also aware that on this planet elsewhere, war is being waged and innocent people are fighting for their lives. So while we have gathered together in the sanctuary of our today, let's focus on Gautama Siddhartha's 2,600th birthday, give or take some years, because of his profound realization that continues to influence how we choose to live our lives. So let's go through our day in appreciation of how very much more we have to be thankful for than not. So Namami Davatsu. Our officiant today is our own homegrown Reverend Maribeth Smith. She will now lead us in chanting the Sambujo. And because we're not using our familiar service books today, I ask those of you who here and at home to view the screen, if you can see it from where you're sitting, and to join in chanting with Reverend Smitty after she finishes the introductory section. Thank you.
Ujo Mida Nyorai Niudo Jo San Ge Aku Bujo Akanyo Rai Ni Do Jo San Ge Ra Aku Ujo Jiponyo Ai Niudo Jo San Ge Ra Aku Gasho. Today we observe the birth of Siddhartha Gautama, the one who would become Shakyamuni Buddha, sage of the Shakya clan, and who was a physical manifestation of Amida, the Buddha of infinite wisdom and compassion. The members of this Sangha gather physically and virtually to celebrate the Buddha's birth into human form. We pay our deepest gratitude and appreciation to the historical Buddha for his appearance in this world, enabling us to encounter the true teaching of Amida Buddha's primal vow. We recall and ritually reenact the story of the Buddha's birth in the Lumbini garden. The Hanamito beautifully adorned with flowers that represent his birthplace, while the sweet tea is poured gently over the baby Buddha statue, representing the sweetly fragranced rain that fell gently from above as the child entered this world. On this observance of the historical Buddha's birth, we express our sincere appreciation for having encountered the Buddha's teachings and reaffirm our intent to live the Nembutsu path each day. Namo Amida Butsu, Namandabs, 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 Namandabs.
Reverend Smitty will now lead us in the chanting of the Hyo Byakumon, or intention of service, followed by the chanting of the Juseiga.
Kagom Chosegan Ishimujodo Shigan Fumanzok Sehujo Shogak Gao Muryoko Hui Dai Se Shu Hu Sai Sho Bin Gu Se Hu Jo Shogak Gashi Jo Bundo Myo Sho Cho Jipo Kukyo Mishomon Sehujo Shogak Ryokujin Shonen Joe Shubongyo Shigumu Jodo Isho Tenin Shi Jinriki Endai Ko Fusho Musaido Shoujo San Kumyo Kosai Shuyakunan Kaihichi Egen Neshi Konmoan Esokusho Akudo Tsudaten Zen Shumon Koso Jomanzok Ioro Jippo Nichigan Shujuki Tenko Onpugen Ishukai Hozo Koseku Dokuho Jo Dai Shuchu Seppo Shishiku Kuyo Isai Bud Gusoku Shutoku Hon Kane Shinjoman Tokui Sangai O Nyobun Mugechi Tsudaten Mihusho Yangaku Erik Toshi Sai Shoson Shiganya Koka Daisen Okando Koku shotenin to uchin myoke namandabu 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 yani shikudoku yodo seisai dohon modaishin ojo anrako. Yasho, namandabs, 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 namandabs.
I feel compelled to apologize to those of you who would like to chant along with us, and we don't have our service books in the pew. I think we need to remedy that, because not all of you are as devout as me. I have everything memorized. Okay, so we're now going to have the floral and a sweet tea offering for Hanamatsuri by temple representatives. So please come forward as I call you. Representing the Dharma School staff, Superintendent Lisa Umekubo. And she's being followed by Dharma School student Jaden Cruz, representing all the kids. Representing the Sangha teams, Paulina Covarrubias. The Junior Young Buddhist Association, Ava Yamamoto. The Young Adult Buddhist Association, Jamie Shimizu. The Adult Buddhist Association, Greg Yonikura. Buddhist Women's Association, Moni Ryan. Taiko Group, Yuri Taira. The Donna Group, Arturo Rubio. And representing the Buddhist temple, the board president, Luann Lee. Thank you so much. And I apologize. I had them all stacked up and now you don't know who's who. Would you all please stand for the Gatha in Lumbini's garden? Again, I apologize. I don't think you can read the lyrics, but surely you have them all memorized. And softly blew the breezes on that glorious morn. In Lumbini's garden, where the Lord was born. Birds and warbles sing. Thank you, Robert, and thank you. You may be seated. Robert is our favorite, well, he's my favorite guitarist outside of Jimi Hendrix. Pretty close. And I really apologize. We don't have our books. I think I'm going to make the claim that we need our books next time. How many in the back row? How many people in the front row can see that screen and read those words? Okay. I advocate for you. Okay. We are now going to recite the three treasures, and maybe this one you have memorized. And if not, please read the tiny reading on the monitor. Hard is it to be born into human life, now we are living it. Difficult is it to hear the teachings of the Blessed One, now we hear it. If we do not deliver ourselves in the present life, no hope is there that we shall be freed from suffering and sorrow in the ocean of birth and death. Let us reverently take refuge in the three treasures of the truth. I take refuge in Buddha. May we all together absorb into ourselves the principle of the way to enlightenment and awaken in ourselves the supreme will. I take refuge in Dharma. May we all together be submerged in the depth of the doctrine and gain wisdom as deep as the ocean. I take refuge in Sangha. May we all together become units in true accord in a life of harmony, in a spirit of universal brotherhood, freed from the bondage of selfishness. Even through ages of myriads of kalpas, hard is it to hear such an excellent, profound, and wonderful doctrine. Now we are able to hear and receive it. So let us thoroughly understand the true meaning of Tathagata's teaching. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu.
Namanda, 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 namanda.
I'm going to ask Reverend Smithy to introduce our guest speaker for the Dharma School.
Good morning, everyone. Today, our guest speaker for Hanamatsuri is Reverend Blayne Higa. He's the resident minister of the Kona Hongwanji Buddhist temple on the Big Island of Hawaii. And at the Kona temple, Reverend Blayne is practically a local boy since he was born and raised on the other side of the Big Island in Hilo. And prior to his being assigned to the temple in Kona, Reverend Blayne had served as an assistant minister in the Mo'oli'i Hongwanji Buddhist Temple and as an assistant chaplain for the Pacific Buddhist Academy, both of which are located in Honolulu. And before he entered the ministry at all, Reverend Blayne spent over 17 years in the state government and in nonprofit fundraising. And he holds several degrees, starting with a Bachelor of Arts degree from Willamette University in Salem, Oregon, a master's degree from the University of Hawaii at Manoa, and a Master of Divinity degree from the Institute of Buddhist Studies in Berkeley, California, which is where I had the good fortune of getting to know Reverend Blayne. He's a pretty smart guy, as evidenced by all those degrees he holds, but he's also super friendly, very kind, and has a great sense of humor. And I can personally attest that he lives both the spirit of aloha and a life of nembutsu every day. And today, Reverend Blayne joins us via Zoom, but we hope that he'll be able to visit us in person at our temple in America's finest city in the not too distant future. But for now, here's Reverend Blayne with his Hanamatsuri message for the Dharma School.
Thank you, Smitty. Good morning and aloha, everybody. It's a pleasure celebrating Hanamatsuri with all of you. Thank you to my dear friend, Reverend Smitty, for inviting me to share with you today. Celebrating the birth of the Buddha is always a special time for us as we are reminded of this wonderful story of transformation and hope. And don't we really need hope even more in our world today? In the sacred story of the Buddha's birth, the baby is said to have taken 7 steps and declared, "In heaven above and on earth below, I am the most honored one. I shall dispel the suffering that fills this world." As we know, this probably didn't happen, but the story is rich in symbolism and meaning. The 7 steps signify that he would go beyond the 6 realms of suffering and take the extra step into the awakened life of a Buddha. His announcement proclaims his future attainment of Buddhahood, and it also reveals the desire of the Buddha to help all of us understand our own potential for enlightenment. The flowers that adorn the Hanamido reminds us of the beautiful flowers that bloomed in Lumbini Garden that day. Flowers also remind us of the beauty and the impermanence of life. The sweet tea that we pour over the statue of the baby Buddha symbolizes the fragrant rain that fell from the sky at the time of his birth. As we know, water is a source of life and symbolizes purification. This ritual is called kanbutsu, or bathing the Buddha. By doing this each year, we recreate the scene described in the sutras, and we become part of this sacred story. How does that make you feel? Isn't it fun pouring tea over the Buddha? Doesn't it feel good to be connected to the life of the Buddha? Doesn't this closeness help us to appreciate the Buddha, his teachings, and our temple family even more? The story of the Buddha's birth offers us hope for living in these challenging and uncertain times, that we too can cultivate wisdom through our experiences and realize a dynamic life of awakening. The ongoing pandemic has impacted our lives in so many ways, hasn't it? Doesn't it feel good to be together again in temple? Later this morning, my own temple, we will be celebrating HANAMATSURI as well. You know, for example, you know, our temple preschool has done a wonderful job of adapting to the numerous COVID safety guidelines to keep our teachers and students safe. However, one of the guidelines is that the entire school is not able to be together in one place. And so because of this change, one of the things I miss the most is spending time with our preschoolers during their monthly temple visit that they used to do pre-pandemic. Greeting their joyful faces at the door, sharing a story, and talking with them was truly the highlight of my day. You know, despite being there to learn from me, I always came away with my heart full and lessons learned. Let me share with you a story from the Buddhist tradition that reminds us of how there are teachers within and all around us. Many centuries ago, a young novice monk traveled alone in the mountains of Tibet. He wandered about penniless, begging for a meager meal from time to time. One day, just as evening fell, he found himself on a bitterly cold mountain pass. But there, tucked in a high alpine meadow, he noticed a small home. He knocked upon the door. When it opened, a grizzled ancient couple greeted him. They welcomed the young monk into their home, allowing him to escape the icy mountain wind. Because it is an honor to feed a monk, they cheerfully readied a wonderful supper for their guest. At some point during the meal preparations, the old man went outside to herd his cattle into the night pasture, and the old woman went to fetch some water at the well. They left the young monk alone tending the fire. But suddenly, shouts from the house echoed from cliff to cliff in the mountain meadow. "Thief! Robber!" They heard the young monk call out. "Get out and never come back." The young monk created such a noisy tumult that the old man and woman hastened back as quickly as their old legs could carry them, pitchforks and hoes in hand, to deal with the thief. So when they burst through the door, all they saw was the lone monk, flushed as a berry, running around the table, slapping his right hand and cursing himself. On the table was an open tea container with a few leaves scattered about. "Thief," he admonished his right hand and held it high. "If I ever catch you trying to steal a little something again, I will be rid of you." The old couple looked at each other and chuckled at the young monk. They served him a fine dinner and offered him a warm place to rest for the evening. The monk bowed respectfully and thanked them for the generosity, but he wanted to resume his homeless life that very night. Before he left, however, the young monk pronounced that on that evening, in their house, he met his inner teacher, from whom he would never again part. And he thanked the old couple and went along his way. So, who are the teachers in your life? And what lessons do they share? How does the dynamic working of the Dharma teach us about ourselves constantly through every moment of the day? A continual life of learning and growth is the spiritual path that the Buddha taught. This is why we celebrate his birth offering our gratitude for the life of universal awakening that he shared with us. You know, children by their nature are natural teachers. With open hearts and minds, they teach us how we should be, how we can be. As adults, many of us have forgotten how the happiness of another person is directly connected to our own. We often think of happiness as a pie that we reluctantly share because we want to keep more for ourselves. Children, on the other hand, naturally understand that happiness is not a finite resource to be jealously guarded, but rather is limitless and should be shared freely. The Buddha teaches, thousands of candles can be lighted from a single candle, and the life of the candle will not be shortened. Happiness never decreases by being shared. Every year, our preschoolers participate in the Great Kindness Challenge to help cultivate a culture of kindness and compassion throughout the world. Last year, they made and delivered floral arrangements to businesses in the neighborhood, waved signs along the highway in the front of our temple, and created links of recycled paper, which were joined together to create the world's longest paper chain, all connected by messages of love and hope. Amid the ongoing pandemic, these little ones teach me how we should treat and care for each other. They remind me how truly effortless being kind and compassionate can be. Children implicitly understand how we are profoundly connected by love, and they demonstrate it with every fiber of their being. They spontaneously live Amida's golden chain of love. They naturally keep their link bright and strong. They're naturally kind and gentle and protect all who are weaker than themselves. They naturally try to think pure and beautiful thoughts, words, and deeds, understanding that happiness of self and other are connected. Happiness inspires happiness, just like how one candle can light 1,000. In the busyness of our lives, can we take a moment to relearn these simple lessons that children are so eager to teach? It could also be that I am just simply missing being hugged by 30 preschoolers as we say goodbye at the end of our time together. But maybe that in itself is a remarkable lesson indeed, as we have experienced the pandemic and the isolation. Please join me in Gasho, and let's recite the Buddha's honored name in gratitude, in joy, and awareness. Namo Amida Butsu, Namo Amida Butsu, Namo Amida Butsu, Nammanda Butsu, Nammanda Butsu, Nammanda Butsu, Nammanda Butsu. Thank you.
Well, thank you so much. Our gratitude to Reverend Higa for his Dharma talk. Thank you very much, Sensei. Okay, I have here that Andrea Covarrubias is going to lead the Sangha in reading our pledge.
Our pledge. Breaking out of my shell, I will share a warm smile and speak gentle words, just like the kind Buddha. Not becoming lost in my greed, anger, and ignorance, I shall think and act with an open mind, just like the calm and peaceful Buddha. Not putting myself first, I will share in the joy and sadness of others, just like the compassionate Buddha. Realizing the gift of life I have received, I shall strive to live each day to its fullest, like the Buddha who tirelessly works to liberate all. Gasho, Namo Amida Butsu,
Namo Amida Butsu.
Namo Amida Butsu,
Namo Amida Butsu.
Namo Amida Butsu.
Namo Amida Butsu.
Namanda.
Namanda. Namanda. Namanda.
Oh, thank you so much, Andrea. Also, I'm told we have announcements next, and so I do have a few to make. Most of you are aware our much delayed New Year celebration will take place in the annex right after the service. So everyone is invited over there to join our event coordinator, Ann Ong, as well as Luann, others who are helping with the New Year's luncheon following the service. And our wonderful taiko group will also perform. My understanding is that all bentos were pre-purchased, prepaid, but there may be extras or remaining. They always buy extras. So those will be sold on a first come, first served basis. Our next in-house Zoom hybrid service is going to take place April 24th. So that's that's 2 Sundays away. And on that day, we're going to observe the April Shotsuki Hoyo, meaning our April memorial service, which is the time we devote to remembering and honoring our relatives and dear friends who passed away during the month of April, regardless of what year it was. So please know that participation both in person, because we are still limiting the number of people who are inside the Hondo, and even on Zoom, we have some restrictions. So it's limited. It requires a reservation. So please contact the temple well in advance to make your reservations so you can be present when your loved one is acknowledged. So, are there any other announcements?
Just a reminder that the Buddhist Temple of San Diego's Dana Group is running a donation drive in support of Ukraine. This drive is running through April 25th, and we can all pitch in through in-kind and monetary donations. In-kind donations such as painkillers and bandages can be brought to the temple. These donations will then be delivered to the House of Ukraine in Balboa Park. If you want to make a monetary donation, you can leave a check here at the temple or donate through PayPal on the BTSD website. Any amount helps. Funds will be forwarded to BCA's Social Welfare Fund and then on to UNICEF's Ukraine Relief Fund. For more information, please visit the temple's website. Thank you very much.
Hello, everyone. Good to see everyone. Just to highlight what Joyce was mentioning about the bento, we do have 3 regular bentos available. So see Ann Ong or Laura Yoshida for those. As you leave the service, we'll be distributing the bentos. You'll see a check-in table on the 2nd level. Check in there. You'll receive your bento and New Year's cake. We're doing things a little different with the as precautionary, but so you'll get your cake as well. After you receive your bento, please be seated indoors, outdoors, or if you're going to take it home, then go ahead and do that. So we'll see you down below if you're attending the New Year's party. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I'd like to invite President Luann Lee to say a few words.
Thank you, Joyce. Good morning. So nice to see so many people here today to celebrate and observe HANAMATSURI Buddha's birthday. On behalf of the temple, I want to thank everyone that had a part in planning and purchasing, making the beautiful hanamito, all beautiful arrangements, and making the sweet tea. Also, I would like to really thank Reverend Blayne Higa. I mean, I think when I looked at my phone, it was 8 o'clock right now in Hawaii. Is that right? So he had to get up really early and he did it live. So we're very appreciative to him for that. And we give him a big aloha and thank him for, taking time to do that. We really appreciate his meaningful messages for our Dharma school students and for the Sangha later. We truly hope that in the near future, he can come visit us in person. Thank you to Reverend Smitty for officiating today's service and to Reverend Laverne for assisting this morning. Appreciation to Reverend Noriko Kawai for her Dharma message later in Japanese. Reverend Honda for ringing the concho, and to the ministerial assistance team for all their support with the service as well. We give thanks to Joyce Teague for chairing today's service, Robert Yamamoto for providing the music, Andrea Covarrubias for reading of the Our Pledge, and special thanks to our Bill Teague and to his technical team. Boy, it takes a lot to do this, and we really appreciate that people can view from home. In closing, we want to give deep gratitude to you, the Sangha, for your patience as we navigate the reopening of the temple, and for your generous donations and constant support to the temple. Really appreciate it. And just a note as you leave today, I know all you've been waiting for is to get that envelope with your bazaar letter and your opportunity drawing tickets, just so you always, they're in the back in a box, in a wood box, and Mildred Kawasaki back there, wave your hand with Mildred. She will be, just go ahead and grab your own, they're all in alphabetical order. And if you don't see your envelope or you want more tickets, just see us, okay? And we hope to see you at the New Year's party too. Thank you very much. And I love the idea of the kindness day. We have to do that. We do that all the time here anyway, but well, it's a good idea too. So maybe we can do that sometime as a group. Okay, Namanda, thank you.
We had a little change up here, and I thought we were going to ask the kids to participate in the kanbutsu, but I'm going to excuse the Dharma school students and their teachers so they can go down to their craft project, and they are invited to come up after the service, after the Japanese speaking portion, and pour all the sweet tea on the Buddha that they want to. Okay, so and for expediency, we're asking them to be excused to their classes right now. Just go quietly, go quickly. Thank you so much. And thank you to President Luann Lee. Let's see. Okay, and now Reverend Smitty will lead us in the recitation of the Vandana and the Tisarana. And following that, she will also introduce our guest speaker. Thank you.
Can everybody here see the words on the screen, or half of you see the words on the screen? You're welcome to chant the whole thing along with me. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato sama sambuddhassa. Homage to him, the exalted one, the enlightened one, the supremely awakened one. Buddham saranam gacchami, Dhammam saranam gacchami, Sangam Saranam Gacchami. I go to the Buddha for guidance. I go to the Dharma for guidance. I go to the Sangha for guidance. Namo Kie Butsu. Namo Kie Ho. Namo Kie So. Gasho. Namo Medabutsu. Namo Medabutsu. Namandabs. 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 Well, hello again. Before we hear, and hopefully we'll hear the whole thing this time, Reverend Higa's Hanamatsuri Dharma message, I'd like to sort of briefly reintroduce him, or maybe not so briefly. As I mentioned earlier, Reverend Blayne and I had attended IBS together, and at that time he was a minister with Tokudo ordination, and his outgoing personality and his ability to share the Dharma in such a relatable and easily understandable manner made him a really highly sought after guest speaker, both at BCA temples and for BCA seminars. In fact, at that time, there were some BCA ministers who were plotting, maybe even scheming, ways to steal Reverend Blayne away from the Hawaii Kyodan. So, well, as you can see, Reverend Blayne is joining us from Kona via Zoom because those plans just didn't pan out. I mean, it's not like BCA temples can offer him a signing bonus like Major League Baseball does when they want to attract a standout player. And to steal someone away from an island paradise, you'd have to offer a pretty big signing bonus in my mind. But for now, I suppose, if we can't have him on Team BCA, we should be grateful to have him on Team Nembutsu with us. So for today, I guess we'll just have to settle for having Reverend Blayne pinch hit, be the guest speaker for Hanamatsuri service. Can you folks tell that my mind's on the start of baseball season and the Padres home opener coming up this week? Well, next up at the plate, coming to us all the way from the big island of Hawaii, is Reverend Blayne Higa.
Thank you, Smitty. It's good to see you again, at least virtually. So good morning again, everybody. Thank you for coming together as Sangha to celebrate the birth of the Buddha. Now the story of the Buddha's birth, right, as we know, ends tragically with the death of Siddhartha's mother, Queen Maya, 7 days after the birth of the prince. We are reminded that even the most noble among us are unable to escape the impermanent nature of our existence. Right? April is also, right? But what is April? Tax season, right? So death and taxes, right? Right, so this fundamental truth that we must confront if we, like the Buddha, are to understand the meaning of our human birth. In the Three Treasures, it says, how rare and wondrous it is to have been born into human life, and now I live it. How rare and wondrous it is to be able to listen to the Buddha Dharma, and now I'm able to hear it. If I do not transcend the world of delusion in this life, when will I ever attain spiritual liberation? This reminds us of how precious our lives truly are, and how rare and wonderful our life is. And how remarkable it is for us to encounter such profound teachings that lead us to a life of awakening. The Zen master, Shunryu Suzuki, once said, "There are no enlightened people. There is only enlightened activity." This captures for me the true essence of the Dharma and how we should strive to live each moment of this unrepeatable life. The teaching should serve as a guide for us to become true and real human beings who live with wisdom and compassion for the welfare of others. Shakyamuni Buddha is considered the enlightened one or the awakened one, not because he was some magical being, but rather because he was someone who practiced enlightened activity in all that he did. He could have kept the truth he discovered to himself, but instead, he spent his entire life sharing the way out of suffering by humbly and sincerely living his spiritual values and insights. His life was his teaching and was the embodiment of values in action. We often separate, or just too often we separate our spiritual values from everyday life. However, these values should be the foundation from where all of our actions derive from. In Buddhism, we talk a lot about being mindful of our thoughts, words, and deeds, and how they can impact our lives and the lives of others. We recite the golden chain often, but how many of us take time to truly reflect and to live these values on a daily basis? Good thing it says, "I will try." If everyone sincerely lived the values of their faith, can you imagine how truly amazing and beautiful our world could be? Might this be a lesson for our troubled world today? At the heart of Shakyamuni Buddha's teachings are the lessons of suffering, impermanence, and interdependence. These truths form the basis for our spiritual worldview and how we should be in the world, how we should act in the world. Each person's suffering is real and unique, and we should cultivate a compassionate heart and extend loving kindness towards all beings. Because we understand the truth of impermanence, we live our lives as if today is the first day and as if it could possibly be our last. If today was your last day on earth, how would you savor and cherish each moment? How would you treat those you love? How would you like to be remembered? Would we live with a sense of urgency and do all we can to make this world just a little bit better? And because we understand the truth of interdependence, we act from the knowledge that we are truly part of a larger whole and must do all we can to support each other. The Buddha teaches us how our lives are a series of causes and conditions that come together and fall apart in an endless cycle of transformation and change. And we suffer because we desperately cling to the illusion that life should be permanent, unchanging, and the way we want it to be. However, we all know that life is impermanent and filled with dissatisfaction. Hasn't the pandemic been a lesson in this fundamental truth of life? We've had to continually adjust to the rapidly changing circumstances and events in our world and in our lives. And through it all, we have discovered how the everyday transitions and challenges of life have never stopped happening. The cycle of life has continued uninterrupted, and we've had to try to manage everything with awareness, with sensitivity, and with grace. While times have been immensely challenging, we've also discovered that what the Buddha taught about birth, old age, sickness, and death are eternal truths that have enabled us to discover our innate resilience. Embracing the groundlessness of our lives has enabled us to bend and to twist without breaking when things keep falling apart. The Buddha's teachings are truly offers us wisdom for living in these challenging and uncertain times. In Shin Buddhism, we rely upon the vow of Amida Buddha as our reason for our awakening. But isn't Amida's vow also our vow, our highest aspiration in life? In the larger Pure Land Sutra, Bodhisattva Dharmakara, his aspiration to nourish and to liberate all sentient beings, is the ultimate example of how we should live our lives for the welfare of others. We live the life of a bodhisattva, or at least we aspire to. We affirm this aspiration often when we chant the words of the Ju Seige. If for countless kalpas to come, I should not become a great benefactor and save all the destitute and afflicted everywhere, may I not attain perfect enlightenment. Our temples, while important spiritual centers, are not the true place of learning and practice. Isn't our true temple or place of learning within each of us? Isn't the living Dharma something that we experience and encounter every single day? We are responsible for learning the Dharma through our experiences and sharing that Dharma by our actions. I'm reminded of the last teaching of Shakyamuni Buddha, in which he said, the true Buddha is not a human body. It is enlightenment. A human body must die, but the wisdom of enlightenment will exist forever in the truth of the Dharma and in the practice of the Dharma. He who sees merely my body does not truly see me. Only he who accepts my teachings truly sees me. After my death, the Dharma shall be your teacher. Follow the Dharma, and you will be true to me. In these challenging times of conflict and war, we should reflect on this limitless life of true equality and freedom that was promised by the Buddha, and strive to walk the path of peace that he shared. In the true spirit of the Bodhisattva ideal, the goal of Shin Buddhism, right, the Nembutsu path, is not simply personal liberation, but a universal awakening of all beings in this world of suffering. In the hymns of the Pure Land, Shinran writes, those who attain the Pure Land of Peace return to this world of 5 defilements, and like Shakyamuni Buddha, bring endless benefit to all beings. The life of the historical Buddha, of Buddha Shakyamuni, offers a model for living in this world for the sake of others. The Dharma teaches us how to live with awareness, compassion, and grace. This life of continual self-reflection is how we awaken to the dynamic activity of wisdom and compassion always present in our lives. That even in our darkest moments, when we can see no light, light is always present, shining on us and within us, giving us hope. Living with this awareness, we should naturally embody and manifest the virtues of the Buddha in all that we do. Yet, we know that the 3 poisons of greed, hatred, and ignorance continue to influence our lives, causing immense suffering. The ongoing war in Ukraine is just one example of how powerfully destructive our ego can be when left unchecked. In a letter to his followers, Shinran reflects on our capacity for unwholesome actions. He says, human beings are such that, maddened by the passions of greed, we desire to possess. Maddened by the passions of anger, we hate that which should not be hated. Seeking to go against the law of cause and effect, led astray by the passions of ignorance, we do what should not even be thought. Only when illuminated by Amita's light can our unexamined inner life can be revealed and the darkness of the three poisons be neutralized. We must endeavor to listen deeply to the calling voice of wisdom and compassion, returning us home to ourselves. This is the working of Namo Amida Butsu, which transforms our ignorance into wisdom, our greed into generosity, and our hatred into love. We need to listen even more deeply in these dark and troubling times. The ritual of celebrating the Buddha's birth is a reenactment of the sacred story in which we adorn the Hanamido with flowers representing Lumbini Garden, and the sweet tea we pour over the statue of the baby Buddha symbolizes the fragrant rain that fell from the sky at the moment of his birth. This is a time for reconnecting, for touching the life of the Buddha. And by doing so, we recommit ourselves to learning and, most importantly, to living the Dharma that he taught. Shakyamuni Buddha and Shinran Shonin understood that life is hard and that the way would be difficult. That is why we have three treasures in Buddhism: the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha, in which we take refuge in. It is the unity of these three where we discover a complete path, a whole path for our entire lives. In the teacher, we have the one who shows us the way in this life. In the teachings, we have the way of understanding and love. And within community, we have the true place of practice, our lives, and our relationships with each other. We shouldn't just study the Dharma. We should live it. The Buddha taught us that the way of peace, the way of true peace, is not passive, but rather is dynamic activity in our world. Each of us is responsible for cultivating the conditions for spiritual awakening and for living with Shinran's heartfelt wish. May there be peace in the world, and may the Buddha's teaching spread. We should respond to this spiritual call to action by embodying and creating the conditions for both personal and collective peace. Let us rejoice for being able to be together for the first time in so many years, and to be able to receive these life-giving and life-transforming teachings today. Over 2,600 years after the birth of the Buddha. The Buddha's birth truly offers us hope for our troubled world. Thank you again for the opportunity to share with you today. Hopefully next time I'll be able to visit with you in person and to visit my friend, Smitty. Again, happy Hanamatsuri to everybody. Please join me in Gassho for a closing reflection. A Brahmin once asked the Buddha the Blessed One. Are you a god? No, Brahmin, said the Blessed One. Are you a saint? No, Brahmin, said the Blessed One. Are you a magician? No, Brahmin, said the Blessed One. What are you then? I am awake. Namo Amida Butsu, Namo Amida Butsu, Namo Amida Butsu, Namanda Butsu, Namanda Butsu, Namanda Butsu, Namanda Butsu. Mahalo, everybody. Thank you again.
By Robert Yamamoto, and the lyrics are on the tiny, tiny screen far away from you there. Nyorai dai no ondoku wa miyoko ni shite mo ondoku shi shuchi shiki no ondoku mo one o kurakite mo shasu beshi. It says, yes, well, please put your hands together again for closing meditation. This will be a music meditation. As the sun shines upon the earth, awakening into growth the seeds that lie dormant in the soil, may the light of wisdom shine into our minds and truly awaken us to our ignorance. And by this insight, stir us to strive for a life of deeper understanding and enlightenment. Happy HANAMATSURI. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. You may be seated. Thank you. So we've really got a lot to be thankful for today. I'm especially grateful to those who made today's service possible. And these good people include our reopening committee, our temple board, who discussed all of these, because we want to be so careful. You know, when we come, we wanted to be so careful before coming together again. Our gang of ministerial assistants, those who donated and purchased the beautiful orchids and flowers that you see before you, and the volunteers who came out yesterday and spent hours decorating the Hanamido and turning our Hondo into Lumbini's garden. Well, I'm also moved to, oh boy, I'm moved to remember Tetsuji Kashima. He was a modest man whose father was one of the first ministers of this temple. Tets, he was an ordained minister. He was a high school biology teacher. And he was also a longtime careful caretaker of the temple. And he designed and built the white elephant, which guards our Hanamido today. Thank you so much, Tets. Thank you to Reverend Smitty for coordinating the service, to our rockin' musician, Robert Yamamoto, to our crew, I know you had some challenges. Thank you so much. This includes Ken Moroka, Reverend, Honda, and Bill Teague. And I'm going to soon invite everyone who would like to participate in the Kambutsu up here so that you can pour sweet tea over the statue. And we also ask those who are going to be staying for our special Japanese message to participate in the tea pouring first before the talk. And I will introduce Reverend Noriko Kawai once that is done. I'm going to introduce Avis Honda, who's going to give you a brief tutorial how to properly do the Kanbutsu. Okay, so Avis, if you'll come forward and take care of that for us. Thank you.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. It's so nice to see everyone. It's been, Reverend reminded me, it was 3 years since we had our last Hanamatsuri service. So let me, I was asked to give a brief reminder on how to pour the tea, because I know sometimes when we were little, we were taught we would pour the tea over the head, and our teachers would tell us, no, don't do that. You're not supposed to. So I'll give you a brief tutorial and a reminder how to do this since it's been 3 years. Okay, so we'll walk up to the Hanamido that our Dharma school students decorated yesterday. So they did a great job on that. And then you're going to bow in front with your hands either at your side or in front of you. And then you're going to fill the spoon and pour it over the left shoulder of the little Buddha, okay? Not over the head, okay? Yeah, when we were little kids, we would do that over the head, but no. Then we would put our hands together with our ojuzu or nenju and recite the Namo Daibutsu 3 times. Then we would step back with our right foot together, then with our left, and then we would bow one more time and then turn to the left or to the right and back to your seats. Okay, thank you.
Okay, so I think that means that we come up and we take care of it. So if you want to come up from the first row and perform Kambutsu.
You're welcome to come up now, and don't be afraid. Don't be
Don't
shy.
be afraid, don't be shy.
You just got the brief lesson to remind you, for those of us who can't remember things for 3 years in a row or 3 days in a row. And there's also some hand sanitizer there in the central aisle if you'd like to clean your hands after you've done so.
Come on, don't be shy. Buddha's waiting for you. I ask that you come up promptly and perform the Kambutsu because we have a Japanese message yet that we would like to offer. Yeah. Oh, no. I'm looking for next time. Are you gonna be over? Oh, you're welcome. What you need?
This, no, I thought I put a copy. Oh. Probably not.
Oh, what is it? I'll look for it.
I'm gonna show you that I did have it in the right order. When you cut them and then paste them, you put those things out of order.
Slap me around.
That's what happened. Because I'm thinking,
I'm
why
going
would I,
straight.
why would I have done it? So I think when you were busy
Oh, no, okay.
copying and pasting and putting your dialogue in there is what happened. And so
Okay.
that's all.
Failed again.
Yeah,
Oh, no,
you know,
I am a Buddhist help.
fortunately, I was just gonna say, fortunately, it's not a long
no,
trip. You're in good company. And, you know, we can only go up from here.
I don't know. I don't know about you.
Well, you know, Shinran told us it's all for the evil being, or in other words, the one who's not perfect, who's not already a Buddha. It's all for.
As we're finishing up our Kambutsu, I would like to invite those who are staying to hear Reverend Kawai to come up close because sit in this section over here, please. Yes, our communication will be better. And while this is going on, I would like to introduce or give an introduction. And it's really my pleasure to introduce our Japanese Reverend, Noriko Kawai, to this content this morning. She is a minister of divinity, and she was born and raised in Kobe, Japan. or where her family still lives. She completed her Master of Divinity in Interfaith Chaplaincy at Claremont School of Theology in Claremont, California. And her clinical pastoral education at Sharp Healthcare here in San Diego. Since 2015, she's been a certified minister's assistant here at our temple. We are so lucky to have her. And she is on her path to becoming an ordained Jodo Shinshu minister. She's endorsed by the Buddhist Churches of America to work as a professional chaplain in the healthcare setting. She's also an interfaith minister ordained by the One Spirit Interfaith Seminary in New York. She's an experienced chaplain with specialties in death and dying, bereavement, behavioral health, and addiction and recovery. And I'm so pleased she's one of my friends too. I love her dearly, and we are so lucky to have her speak today in Japanese. Come on up.
Please join me.
Please join me in Gasho.生死の苦海ほとりなし、久しく沈める我らをば、皆聖具の船の溝、乗せて必ず渡しける。ナモ阿弥陀仏、ナモ阿弥陀仏、ナモ阿弥陀仏、ナモ阿弥陀仏。Thank you, Joyce, for your kind introduction. 皆さん、おはようございます。ちょっと先ほどの和さん今お読みしましたけれども、準備しているときに、これぐらいの漢字読めるわと思って振り仮名つけなかったら全然読めませんでした。だからちょっと間違ってると思いますけど、大変ご無沙汰しておりますが、皆さんお元気でいらっしゃったでしょうか。今日は4月10日ですが、2日前の4月8日は、日本ではお釈迦様のお誕生日とされ、今日このお寺ではそのお祝いの花祭りをしております。日本語では、乾物会。乾物会ですね。とも言います。乾物の乾という字。一つ目の乾という字は、水をつぎ込むとか、注ぎ込むという意味だそうです。ですので、仏様に水を注ぐ法要ということになり、まさにこの私たちが今日、花見堂の中にいらっしゃる小さな仏様に甘茶を注ぐ行為を意味しているわけです。で、なぜ甘茶かというと、スミティも教えてくださいましたけれども、お釈迦様がお生まれになった時に甘い雨が降ったと言われています。多分、本当に甘かったわけではなく、そのような、素晴らしいことが起こったという意味ではないかと思います。皆さんは花祭りの思い出はいろいろお持ちなのではないかと思います。こういったお寺でのお祝いやお祭りの思い出もお持ちかもしれませんし、お家でお祝いされた方もいらっしゃるかもしれません。私は先ほど、お話しいただいたように、日本の神戸の出身ですけれども、その中でも六甲というところで生まれ育ちました。六甲は六甲山という山が有名なのですが、その山並みの中にマヤ山という小さな山があります。 標高702メートルということですので、フィートに直すと2300フィートぐらいの高さ、だから小さな山です。山の頂上には天成寺というお寺があり、空海がそのお寺にお釈迦様のお母様であるマヤ部人のお像を祀ったことから、その山をマヤ山と呼ぶようになったそうです。空海は8世紀から9世紀に実在したとても有名なお坊さんですが、親鸞上人より400年ほど前にお生まれになったお坊さんです。私の花祭りの思い出としては、4月8日頃にそのマヤさんに行き、甘茶を飲んだことを覚えています。多分お釈迦様に甘茶を注ぐこともしたのではないかと思います。で、私、先ほど恵比寿の説明を聞くまでは、型にかけるということを知らなかったので、先ほど一番初めにした時も頭の上からかけてしまいました。もうこれでしっかり覚えておきます。でも一番覚えているのはその甘茶の味です。こちらでは普通の紅茶を甘くしたものを使っているかと思うのですが、日本では甘茶という名前の草というか植物がありまして、それを煎じて、ぐつぐつ煮込んで甘茶を作ります。その味は少しの甘さもあるのですが、ちょっと苦味もあって、なんとも微妙な味がします。日本の甘茶飲まれたことある方いらっしゃる？美味しくないですよね、あんまり。で、小さかった私は、これが甘茶と思ったのを覚えています。さて、仏教では年に3回大切な日があるとお話ししたことがあるかと思います。2月15日はお釈迦様が亡くなった日で、涅槃会という法要があります。12月8日は浄土会、お釈迦様が悟りを開かれた日です。そして今日、2日前ですね。4月8日はお釈迦様がお生まれになった日で乾仏会と言います。日本ではこれらの日にちに基づいて法要を行いますが、東南アジアで主に信仰されるテラバダ仏教では5月にこの3つのすべての日を一緒にお祝いするそうです。もう皆さんはよくご存知かと思いますが、お釈迦様は2500年ほど前の現在のネパールがあるところの王国で王子様としてお生まれになりました。何不自由ない生活をしていましたが、ある日お忍びでお城を抜け出して街を歩いたとき、東西南北のゲートで年を取っている人、病気の人、亡くなった人、そして最後に愚道者、道を探し求めている人に出会ったそうです。老い、病、死という人間の苦しみ、苦を目の当たりにしてどうすればその苦から解き放たれることができるのか、と王子の身分を捨ててご自分も愚道者になったのです。この苦しみのことを仏教では生老病死と言います。生老病死ですね。仏教ではちょっと漢字の読み方が普通の読み方と違うことが多いので、これをこう書いて生老病死と言います。比嘉先生の話にも先ほどあったかと思います。生老病死について。生まれること、老いること、病気になること、死ぬことの4つとなります。生まれることを苦しみと考えることをおかしいと思われるかもしれませんが、他の3つの苦しみはそもそも私たちが生まれたことから発生しているので、生まれたこと自体が苦しみと考えられるわけです。生きていることが苦であると捉えることもできるかもしれません。年を取ること、病気になること、 死ぬこと。これらは自分のことはもちろんのこと、家族や大切な人に関しても辛いことです。私の父は去年の1月に亡くなりました。88歳だったのですが、最後まで老い、年を取るということに抵抗を示していました。若い頃からタバコを吸っていたためか、肺がとても悪く、長年患っていたのですが、それでもお医者さんから年齢だから仕方がないというようなことを言われると、それで片付けられたらどうしたらいいんやというようなことをよく愚痴っていました。私から見たらおかしなようにも思いましたが、父のように80代後半の年になってもそういうふうに思うものなのかなと思いました。私の父はその世代のいわゆる典型的な日本の父親と言えるのでしょうか。子育てはすべて母親に任せて仕事一本やりの人でした。子供の頃に父に遊んでもらった記憶は全くありません。怒るとものすごく怖くて、父親が仕事から帰ってくる頃には顔を合わせないように自分の部屋に逃げたりするほどでした。でもそんな父親も最後の方は痩せてしまって弱々しく、そんな姿を見るのはとても辛く思いました。老い、病、死というのは自分のことではなく、身近な人に起こっても苦となり得るのです。あまり時間を共にしたことがなかったこともあって、父と私の関係はあまり良いものではありませんでした。でも亡くなる数年前は、やっと私も大人になったのか、二人でご飯を食べるときには長々と話し込んだり、父の子供の頃の話を聞いたりすることができて、とても貴重な時間を過ごすことができたと思います。そんな時間を持てたことを本当にありがたいことだと思います。このお話の初めに、親鸞上人の和さんのお言葉を紹介しました。生死の苦海ほとりなし、久しく沈める我らをば、皆性偶勢の船の溝、乗せて必ず渡しける。ちょっと漢字の読み方を思い出しました。現代語に訳しますと、生死の世界は苦しみばかりの海のように果てがない。この海に遠い過去より沈んでいる私たちを阿弥陀如来の本願の船は乗せて必ず渡してくださるという意味だそうです。私たちは凡夫ですので、お釈迦様のようにこの世で悟りを開くということは不可能に近く、迷いの中に沈み込んでいます。阿弥陀様はそんな私たちを凡夫のまま迷いのこの世界から超えていくことを助けてくださいますという意味の和算です。今日のお釈迦様のお誕生日のお祝いに、この仏教の教えを伝えてくださったこと、そしてその1700年ほど後にお生まれになった親鸞上人の教え、また私たちを育て、いろいろなことを教えてくれた私の父を含むすべての先人、または比嘉先生がおっしゃったように子供たちやいろんな人が私たちの先生となり、その方への感謝の念を思いつつお話を終わらせていただきます。合唱をお願いいたします。生死の苦海ほとりなし、久しく沈める我らをば、二段偶勢の船の溝、乗せて必ず渡しける。ナモ阿弥陀仏。ナモ阿弥陀仏。ナモ阿弥陀仏。ナマンダ仏。ナマンダ仏。ナマンダ仏。ありがとうございました。